After being under siege by gremlins most of the weekend, we decided to rally forces with nature, and who better than a bird that shouts "Go away." This is Safari Live. Ready.
Standing by.
Five, four, three, two, one. You are live. You are live.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful sunset safari on this beautiful weekend. Now, unfortunately, a lot of you know that we've had a bit of trouble with gremlins that have been interrupting our feeds, so hopefully this afternoon all will be sorted. It was a problem with the mast all the way on the mountains on Mariepskop, and so we've been working hard for the last 24 hours to try get them right. So it seems like all is sorted, and we can actually get through a full show today. Now, my name is Tristan, and on camera today I've got Fergalicious, and there we go, there comes the Fergalicious hand, and hopefully it's going to be a wonderful afternoon. The sun is really shining, it's warm, it's clear, it's bright, and perfect conditions to be out and about. And I'm hoping this weather will bring about lots of elephants that might be making their way to waterholes, so we're going to be checking around for that. And I'm also going to be trying to see if I can't find our favorite little leopard, Tumba, and hopefully he will be around too. So it promises lots this afternoon, and it's quite exciting actually. Not always do we get out in the afternoons and we don't know what's going on, so nice to be out and kind of exploring the afternoon with no idea what's been going on for the last sort of 24 hours. Remember, this is live, it is interactive, so you can get hold of us on hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, and we'd love to hear from all of you. Even if you don't have any questions, just a hello and a friendly greeting from wherever you may be watching would also be quite nice. Right, Ferg, onward and forward. So it's been an epic weekend because lots has been happening, and I know that we haven't been out yesterday afternoon or this morning, which has obviously been a bit sad, but it's been great to be able to follow what's been going on in the Mara, and it seems like giant strides are being made there, and the guys there are really doing a great job, and it seems so exciting what's coming out of the Mara, and I can't wait to see how they're going to do over the next little bit, and I'm sure it will be fantastic. And so they're taking a bit of a break today. This afternoon they won't be joining us because they've been doing lots of night shifts, and so, well, it will just be myself and Ellie from Djuma this afternoon, and then they'll be back with us tomorrow. But it is really exciting being able to follow those animals at night, and we've seen that the guys have really pulled out some fantastic things already. Now I'm going to head off down towards Twin Dams via the Mulawati riverbed, see if I can't find these big grey ghosts that have been hiding from us the last few days. And while I do that, let's go across to Ellie, who's got a grey ghost of her own.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We do have a grey ghost, the mighty Kruger, and what an incredible specimen and individual he is. A big, beautiful bull. Look at the size of those horns just shining in this golden afternoon light. I think he is unsure of where he should go next. He's just stopped and pondering the gaze all around, wondering, should I go right, should I go left? I think we all feel that way this afternoon. We all just want to go exploring and find out what's been happening and what's going on around here. I'm not too sure he knows where he wants to do, but while he decides, I just want to say hello to everyone. My name is Ellie, and on camera with me today is Seb, and we are very happy to take you upon this adventure today and this afternoon after we had a bit of a horrible attack by the gremlins, so we apologize for any inconveniences, but that is all done, and now we are here being blinded by the beautiful sun. As you know, it's a live and interactive show, so if you've got any questions or any comments, please do send them through using the hashtag Safari Live, and we would love to to get back to you or hear from you. Right, I think our kudu friend has not decided where he wants to go, but I would like to carry on going around here. We saw some off-road vehicle tracks, so we want to go and investigate what there was this morning around the reserve. And in the meantime, and while we do so, let's go over to Tristan, who's chasing a much, much bigger grey ghost.
Well, at this stage it is a ghost because we've got no signs just yet of our big grey elephants, and hopefully we will be able to find some sort of footprints from during the day today. The reason why I'm in the beautiful Mulawati riverbed, and look how pretty it is one of the best places just to come in the afternoons and to enjoy the shade of the big trees that grow on either side of the riverbed. It is one of my favourite places to be in. So the elephants coming down here are doing it for a reason at the moment. They know that in this particular section, not only is it shady and there's still some sort of green vegetation on the banks of this sandy riverbed, but there is also water that is just below the surface. And so what they're doing is they're digging big deep holes at the moment within the riverbed system and are able to then extract water. And I'll try and find one of those for you just now. I see Ferg was looking around to try and see if he could see one, but there's none here, Ferg, so we'll just have to go a little bit further, and there's a place just beyond us now where you can see it very, very clearly where the elephants have been going crazy and looking for water. They've really been digging, they've gotten stuck in, and they've dug quite deep pits. And the nice thing about that is now as we go into the winter months and it starts to get a little bit drier, so the other animals also start to struggle for water. But these pits that the elephant dig, and once they're done, there's still a seep that happens, and you'll find things like nyala, bushbuck, even some of the cats will come and drink from them. Now there's a beautiful bird that's just flowing out here in front. So it's brown hooded kingfisher. Oh no, don't stay there. There we go. It's just landed on the next bush behind there, Ferg. There it is, top right of your frame. There we go. No, left. There we go. Straight in the middle. You go straight in. So there's our brown hooded kingfisher, bright red beak, those electric blue tips to the wings, and then that brown head where it gets its name from. So there it is there. Isn't it beautiful? And these guys, we don't see too much of them in the summer months because they get out-competed heavily by the woodland kingfishers. And now when the woodland kingfishers leave during the winter months, these guys start to come out and we see a lot more of them, and they're a lot more vocal at this time of the year. Really nice to see. And this is the thing about being in the Mulawati, is it's a slightly different terrain and different area, and so that means that there is a lot of different birds that we see here as opposed to the higher areas that... Sorry, I thought I saw something there, but I didn't. It was just a shadow. Now, when you're driving in here, it's always good to look for leopards as well as the elephants. And so sometimes there's little branches that catch your eye. And I thought for a second I had spotted a spotted cat, but it was not. It was just a stick that was there. And so as I was saying, is that often inside here you'll get bird species that you don't see on the higher areas, and so it makes a nice change. Particularly, I know a lot of you keeping your bird lists. These are areas where we don't spend as much time looking for birds, and so it's a good place to try and add some birds to all of your lists that do keep lists. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of you know, but there is also some other exciting news that's coming out of Kenya, and that is the return of Scott Dyson. So a lot of you will remember him. He was a guy at Wild Earth, and he's now coming back to us, and he's going to be joining the Mara team as a presenter that side, which is really good news. So it's going to be good to have Scotty back, and look forward to hearing his chuckle, as many of you will remember, and see him back on the screens. Now, while I carry on and try and see what else we can find, let's go back to Ellie and see how she's doing and see what her plans are for the rest of the afternoon, because, well, I forgot to ask her before we went out.
Right, well, I am looking at a bunch of set of tracks, both human and animal. So it seems like there are a few old hyena tracks on the road, and there was definitely some action in the morning around this area, because I see lots of off-road tracks coming in between Buffelshoek boundary and the fire break of where we are. So it's a space of, I would say, maybe about 20 meters or so. So I was wondering if perhaps they didn't come looking for... You see lots of vehicle tracks. So funny enough, I'm now tracking the humans and what they did this morning to try and find out what they saw before they start moving around. So I am voting for something that didn't stand still. I haven't found one track of an animal that could be the reason for all of this off-roading. So I think maybe Warthogs were somewhat involved, or perhaps even lions could be, although I don't know why I'm more tempted to say perhaps Warthogs were moving around here, just because of the amount of vehicle tracks and the way that they're moving and going onto the sides and then going back onto the road, and so quite interesting. And I don't know, maybe it'll give you a good example if I just stand out and maybe show you what we're looking at in front of us, just so that you can see how we're trying to track these humans while we try to find tracks. Because for now, all I see are hyena tracks all over the place, but we've pretty much got one set of vehicle tracks that goes down like this, another set of vehicle tracks that goes down like this, and then we've had another one that came from the bush, and then further ahead another one that came from the bush, and everything seems to be headed in that direction. So we're gonna go have a look around, see what we can find. Just out of human curiosity, isn't that funny? So we track the animals and the people as well. The people that are tracking the animals, so it's us tracking them. Who knows? Maybe there will be something exciting at the end of the rainbow. What would you like, guys, like it to be at the end of the rainbow? You know, as they say, a hallucination of pangolins, a pride of lions, a leap of leopards. Aaron and Uzzy Bunny, you guys are saying lions, please. Yes, I would also like to see lions today. I think they have been gallivanting in other properties for too long, so time for them to come home. So I'm actually also hoping to see them. But let me just have a look at these tracks. More hyenas. I wonder, hyenas are such difficult animals to track. They always seem to be moving around and coming and going and always very busy, but then when you try to find them and you go and visit all of their possible dens and they're not there. So I wonder how many secret hideouts and places they've got out here in the bush. No. Let's see. It's worth having a look around. I don't know why when we start drive, it's like in the mornings, I always enjoy coming onto the specific areas. Like, you know, when you get out of your home and you have a set route that you like going or that you like using to go to work. I think it's the same for us. Sometimes you just feel like, you know, you've got to go first here and then you can go anywhere else, but you first have to find or follow up on a particular area. You see people are getting mobile. Maybe we'll find out the mystery. I'm just gonna listen and eavesdrop and let you guys know. Alright, so it seems like this morning it was quite a quiet morning, and they only had quarantine, in case you guys were interested, going close to Chitwa Plains and then going on to Torchwood. And it seems like the lions are also not around. They have been going on to, perhaps they've carried on moving around Elephant Plains, Simambili, Londolozi. So they seem to be expanding their range and moving around. So who knows? It seems like maybe we could go and have a look around this particular area. Who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky with some lions around here. So I want to go check around down this area, see if perhaps we can find anything, but it seems like we didn't miss out on too many animals this morning or in this morning drive. So here's to us going to try and check them again and see what's been happening. And of course, if you guys see anything, just let us know. I just want to show you this strange impala. No, don't go. Come back. He seems to have an abscess on the side of his neck.
Not that one, huh?
Okay. Yes.
That one?
Sorry guys, I was just listening to the radio. It seems like the guides and all those tracks that we were tracking was people following Mvula this morning. So I think maybe it is worth it trying to, we'll stick around this area, see if perhaps we can see good old Mvula, very nice and good old friend. But yes, unfortunately the Impala has moved off and he seems to be carrying on that way. But I wanted to show him because he's got a wound on his neck, and it seems like, you know, just an old scrape, because there was no hair there, but there was a massive abscess on the side of his body. So it's quite interesting when that happens, and I don't know if perhaps it's just an infection that he's got, or perhaps during the rutting season he fought with somebody and then, you know, got a bit of somebody else's horn stuck inside of his neck. I was kind of hoping that he was going to come back onto the road, but maybe he's not feeling too well and just decided to put some distance in between us and him. I think I can see him further ahead, so let's go see if perhaps we can have a look. So there he is, but now he's facing the wrong way. Because we can see from here the side of his neck that is fine, but the other side, the left-hand side, that's where that strange wound is. And it happens every so often that animals will get abscesses. Sometimes it's an indication of potential tuberculosis, depending on where they have these abscesses, and you see it often in lions around their joints or in buffaloes as well. But sometimes it can just be an infection or an infected wound that's just has a lot of pus in there. I know that's probably not what you want to be hearing early in the morning. Where are you going? No. Alright, I think maybe this guy is a bit shy, and because he's a bit injured, I think maybe we're gonna leave him. And we're gonna head back onto that particular area where apparently they were tracking Impala. Now I'm very happy to hear that we didn't track the humans wrong and that there was definitely something he was looking at. And just by judging from the tracks, maybe he was walking around and scent marking, and it seems like he went down onto one of the drainage lines. So we're gonna go into that area just to give the guys a hand, see if perhaps we can find him. That'll be quite interesting. But in the meantime, let's go over to Tristan, who I think is going onto Twin Dams.
Well, we've got one of our most beautiful birds, and we have stunning images of this crested barbet that looks like it's hunting little insects out of a hole in the tree. It's now flown up above us, but it was sitting there and it grabbed an insect. Did you see what it was? Was it a moth or just an insect? Little moth. That's very cool. So it grabbed a moth from inside that hole, and as you can see is now just sort of getting the last little bits down and then jumping up further into the acacia. Now there is 2 crested barbets in this tree. The one I think is flown off now, and then there is the other one that is just bouncing around as barbets do in amongst these tall trees along the Mulawati area. Now unfortunately we found where an elephant had dug a beautiful big hole and there was water seeping through, but the gremlins seem to still be attached to Rusty. Maybe it's because I removed Rusty's kudu horns, and that's why we couldn't show you. So we had to kind of get out of the Mulawati, and luckily these little birds were hanging around for us to see. They really are very pretty, and you can see they've got those bright yellows and reds and black spots all over them, and that one's even now puffing up. I wonder why. I wonder if there's maybe a little bit of competition between the 2 barbets that were in the tree. They do generally fly around in pairs together, so it could just be a pair. So Saddlesworth, you say you love crested barbets. Well, I agree. They are very pretty birds, and they always seem to be up to something. They bounce around these trees, and I love the call that they make as well. It's always synonymous with my childhood, funny enough, because they used to be in the garden where I lived in Johannesburg, and used to hear them calling most days. And so when I hear their call, it just reminds me of when I was a kid, which was quite cool. So I do like them as well, and they are beautiful coloured birds, and so it's nice to see them. What's wrong? Are you going to go to the toilet? Oopsie. That was a little seed that was being ejected out there. We got not a bird's eye view, but a ground view of an ejection of a seed via a crested barbet, which thankfully didn't land on our heads, because the sort of angle that bird's at, if it was something like a vulture or an eagle, we would have had a massive problem. Can be quite glad that wasn't the case. Hey, Ferg. I'm very glad too. Yeah, well, forget the lens. I don't think we would have wanted vulture droppings all over our faces either. I can imagine there's not very many worse things than that. Now Twin Dam seems quiet at this stage as well. No fresh elephant tracks anywhere here. So let's see. So Mohammed, you're wondering if this is a new bird that has recently arrived to the area. Well, no, Mohammed, this is quite a common bird that we see here. We find it pretty much all throughout the year. Well, we do find it all throughout the year, and it is fairly common in this area. It's actually not one of the birds that we sort of get moving or migrating in any way. There's a little squirrel that's bounding off, and I wonder if it's going to stay still, Ferg. I don't think so. I think it's going to be sitting still long enough for you to get... there we go. It did sit still. Nice. Thank you, squirrel. And then off it goes. Does it have a nut there? It looks like it's got something that it's busy trying to pry open. And you'll see that they feed with such relish. I always love watching squirrels feed, and that off it goes. Unfortunately, he's going deeper into that thicket. There it goes. And gone. But it seemed like it had a little nut, and like I say, I love watching them feed off these nuts because they twirl it around and they use those big incisors that are typical of rodents to be able to break the nut and get to the seed inside. And so you'll find that when they eat, it's almost like they have to rush and eat. And it reminds me again of being at home, because my brother who's older than me, used to eat like a champion, and he used to just eat everything, and if you didn't eat quick enough, he would just take it all. So it kind of reminds me of when you're at home, you try to quickly eat as quick as possible to try and get it. The other reason it reminds me of my brother is because when he was younger, if he didn't like something, he used to try and chew it slowly, and it used to make his cheeks bulge, and he used to look like he was a squirrel. So my mom used to tell him to stop squirreling and to eat his food. So I always laugh when I see squirrels. It just reminds me of those moments, and I suppose my brother won't be that chuffed that I'm sharing these stories, but is what it is, unfortunately. So sorry about that, Gray. No sign of any kitties here at Treehouse Dam. I was hoping that we might find Hosana or Shongile or even Tandi and Tamba down this side. There's been no sign of them. I asked the guides and they said to me, nope, they haven't seen anything. They didn't find Tamba or Tandi yesterday afternoon, and nothing this morning. So I'm gonna try and just backtrack a little bit, and I wanted to check this southern area first, just in case they had been here and they'd already crossed out. But if there's no sign of them crossing southwards, then we know that these guys must be somewhere in this area, and we'll try and then go back to where I had Tamba yesterday morning, around the dam cam and sort of south of the dam, and go and check around, and maybe, just maybe, we get lucky and we find them somewhere there. It's going to be quite tough, given that it's very thick, very dense, and they didn't seem to appear last night anywhere. So hopefully they are somewhere close by, and we'll pick up a track for them and be able to then find them from there. But so far no tracks that I can see, and that's an encouraging sign. At least means that they probably are still our side and haven't gone further south towards Little Gari or Chitwa and that area. Although if they go to Chitwa, it's not too much of a concern. I might try and find out from the guys in the east if there's been any sign of anything that side this morning, because obviously we don't really know what's going on. I haven't heard any updates on the Nkuhumas, haven't heard any updates on Shadow or Cub, so we'll try and see if we can't speak to somebody and see if we can't find out where all of our regulars are at this stage. Now I believe Ellie is in the northwestern part of Djuma, and she's trying to search for a very special, very old friend.
We are indeed trying to find a very old friend, an old leopard. And I say old because, well, he's been around for a while, but he holds a special place in my heart because I used to know its mother. So it's all a girl thing, but I think these are the guys that found it in the morning. I just want to try and speak to them and see what it is, because I haven't been able to see one track for them. So I'm just going to catch up with them quickly and have a quick word. Good, thanks, and you?
Yeah, buddy. I left him somewhere in this block here. I'll walk quickly to check, but it must be still here.
Alright, yeah, because we've checked the road up and down and we haven't seen any tracks here.
The Impala right here as well.
We saw them earlier as well.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Alright, cool. Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello! Alright, well, the Impala are still around here, and his name is Abel, the guy that was telling us that he had him this morning. That was clearly the one that was following him around. So he wants to, unfortunately, this side of the road is Buffalo's Hook, so we are not allowed to go into this area. So he's gonna let us know if he can find it again, or if he can find it somewhere inside of the bush, because, well, we are technically not allowed, not even to set one foot in there. So I am hoping that he will see it, just so that we know that it's there, because if he is, then he's not too far from their boundary, and it would be a good chance for him to come south and come into Djuma and for all of us to have a look. So we have checked pretty much all of the road going in that general direction, and I don't think he's around there, because we couldn't see one track. Lots of hyena tracks around the area, so it could be that he's actually being very clever. Ah, hello, Kuru friend. And he's just waiting in the block for nightfall to come down, and then he's going to try his luck with some of those Impala. Are you going to come in front of us? Maybe not. Maybe a bit further down the road. We are going to go down the road, perhaps check a different area, see if the lions crossed all the way back from Simambili. We're doing a bit of a cat patrol, see if we find any of them around. But in the meantime, let's go to Tristan, who seems to have found an antelope of his own.
We have indeed. So we've finally found some sort of mammalian life. Well, I suppose we saw a squirrel just now, so we can count that. But we have a beautiful female waterbuck, and interestingly enough, so far on her own. I don't see any other waterbuck in this general area. There might be some that are tucked away behind her, but very strange to see them by themselves. They generally are animals that spend a lot of time together. Now, our waterbuck is about to bolt into the bush. There we go. See, I'm a genius. No, not really. There is just a big car that's coming past at a rate of knots, and so unfortunately there goes our waterbuck. Well, if you're a waterbuck on the main road, this is what happens sometimes, is people don't see you and they come flying past. But it's strange to see one by itself. I would imagine there must be others somewhere close by, because it's not common for waterbuck to spend time on their own unless they're really big males. Then you'll find that they quite happily go off by themselves, and that's generally because they've been pushed out by a bigger, more dominant male, and they've now got to go live life on their own or try and join up with other males. And so that's more common than seeing a female like that by herself. I wonder if she wasn't going to come northwards towards Djuma and head towards Treehouse Dam, because Treehouse Dam is directly north of us at the moment, and that's why we're checking here. Is always a good place for some of our cats to cross over. They like Treehouse Dam a lot, and so worth checking, as well as our elephants. We also know elephants like to go there, so always good to check here. Kathy, you're wondering about Hosana and Shongile and whether or not anyone has seen them lately. So Hosana was last seen, as far as I know, I mean, he could have been seen last night or yet this morning, but the last update I got of him was on Friday afternoon, that he was seen on a property to the south called Hofmans, so not too far actually south from where we are right now. So that's where he was, and he was fine, healthy, looking good. And then Shongile, a little bit longer. The last reported sighting of Shongile was, well, now it must be about 6-7 days ago. But it's not uncommon to have a situation like that. Remember, we did have very bad adverse weather that blew in last week, and it would have been great weather to hunt. And so little Shongile might have caught something in one of these dense, thick areas. We missed her tracks, and we haven't found her, and she's just been feeding there for the last few days, and she'll then start to come out. So not too worried about her as yet. Also, she's moving around quite a bit, and so I wouldn't be surprised she's actually somewhere on Djuma, and we just haven't found her just yet. I know that there was tracks for a young female leopard around Philemon's cut line north of Treehouse Dam, which is a route that little Shongile likes to walk, and she often goes that way, so I wouldn't be surprised if she's around there. And well, we just need to be a little bit more patient and try our luck, and I'm sure we'll find or hear of her at some point. Like I say, I'll try to get hold of the guys in the eastern side and see if maybe over the course of the weekend somebody has spotted her, but the last I heard she was seen was not last week, was the week before. No signs here at the quarry, so it doesn't seem like either Hosana or Shongile has visited the quarry anytime recently. And we know that this is a favorite area of theirs. They love spending time here, both of them. The thing is, though, is that the pans where they used to like to spend time, where there was water and used to attract quite a large majority of prey items. So we used to see a few impalas coming there. We used to see warthogs coming there quite regularly, as well as the fact that there was water for the leopards to drink that wasn't a big pan where they could potentially have crocodiles in it. So that's all now drying up, which is making it a lot more difficult. Sorry, I'm trying to watch the aerial that I don't hit it, but those pans drying up make it a lot more difficult for these cats, particularly Hassan and Shongile. They're going to have to travel to areas where there's more water, and so places like this that would have been their summertime haunts are now not going to be a place that they're going to come to that often. There's no more water left in this little pan in front of us, and so it means that both Shongile and Hosanna are not going to be able to come here that much. They're not going to be able to get water, and well, there's going to be very few prey species that are going to arrive to a waterhole that looks like that. There's no reason for them to come. Even the mud itself is now starting to cake and get very hard and crispy, and that means that these guys are not going to be able to even mud wallow. So warthogs, impalas, and varying other species of prey animals that Hosanna and Shongile would have gone after are no longer viable in a pan like this. So we're going to see them moving into more sort of different areas where there's more permanent water. So Tiger's Kicks, you're wondering if there's any quicksand in Africa. Well, yes, there is. So you find it sometimes in these stagnant pool areas, or I suppose waterholes is a good way. So places like Treehouse Dam, Twin Dams, I wouldn't be surprised if there's areas there that if you stood on, you would just sink down. There's some in the Mulawati. In fact, during the summer months, if the Mulawati starts to flow, a lot of it becomes just like that. It looks as though it's perfectly hard on top, and you'll stand and all of a sudden you'll just sink down to your thighs. So yes, we do get it here in Africa, and in South Africa it is quite a common thing to get, particularly in areas of still water where you get lots of debris that sits, and that debris sort of holds you for a little bit, and then you just take one step where there's a weakness and you just plow down into the sandy soil. It's mostly in places where we get quite sandy substrate for a waterhole. But no sign of anything that I can see around this area. So David, you're wondering if the elephant could get stuck in the sand. Well, I've never seen elephants stuck in sand. It can happen that they get stuck in mud. Now mud would be, let's say, like what we've seen there, where a water source dries out and this thick grey mud develops, and they then go to try and mud wallow and get that mud onto their skin to try and exfoliate and keep the skin in good condition, as well as to cool down. And they then go in, and some of that mud sometimes just gets too thick and they get bogged down, and the more they struggle, the more they get sucked in, and then they get trapped there. And so there's been a few cases of particularly younger elephants, so you know, baby elephants and teenagers, being bogged down completely into mud and having a really tough time to get out of it. So I was just trying to check some tracks that were on the road, but nothing of any concern to us at this stage from last night, a few of the antelope species that we were walking around. So yes, the elephants can get stuck in mud, but in sand, like in the riverbeds and places like that, no, I've never seen or heard of elephants getting stuck in sandy areas. Generally the sand gives way enough that they can actually get that big broad foot out and on top, and then pull themselves out with the power that they have. Now, I'm just making my way slowly towards Treehouse Dam. No sign of any elephants coming this way, but you never know. Maybe we'll be surprised from elephants coming from the north. And while we do that, let's go across to Ellie and see whether or not she's had any success on her Mvula mission.
It seems like there are some tracks here, and I just wanted to show them to you, but I don't know if I've driven past them now. I think I might have, actually. There's one. I think we got a bit carried away now. Let me just go back, because it seems like we've got his tracks, but nobody is 100% sure where he came from. So we're just trying to figure out if these tracks are actually from early this morning, or if they're actually new tracks. Now, I think there's one track over there. So let me see if I can show it to you guys. Now I've lost it again. Okay, so there are a few tracks here. There's one here, and then the next one there, and then the next one there. So he's certainly going in pretty much that direction, which is sort of like an easterly direction, I would say, considering where the sun is. Now, let me find this track again, because I missed it. So we've got 1, 2, 3 lobes here, then the rest of the pad, the back pad, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4. But judging by the amount of stuff that is on top of the track, so there's a lot of grass, there's a lot of little twigs, the track is not that smooth anymore. I would say that this is probably where he came from in the morning. They found him at Sydney's Dam, which is not too far from here, so I reckon he just did a very long turnaround and then went all the way up there, which would be quite plausible. It's not a great distance to walk, so I think that's where our boy has been going. Unfortunately, I think this would be backtracking him, because he pretty much came from that direction and then carried on. So maybe we're just gonna stick to our plan of going the other way around and go check if the lions didn't cross, because nobody checked around this area in the morning. Now, it's a bit of a tricky one. The guys are checking in Buffelshoek 4 and Bula, where they left him this morning. Apparently he was enjoying being on top of a termite mound. So they are checking there on foot, and then they'll let us know if... You see, here are more tracks. And they'll let us know if they come right, and or if not, where he's gone. Because it seems like the tracks could go pretty much anywhere else. Now let's have a look here. Just want to make double sure on this junction that there isn't anything that we missed. Chasing ghosts. Bula, he is an older male leopard, so he's been in the fringes of Tingana and Quarantine's territory, from what I gather, for the last little while. He's not as young as the other two, but he's still quite a powerful leopard. I'm sure he can still put up a good battle. If you tried. No, I haven't plugged myself in. That's probably why. I forgot. Thank you. So I thought it was quite quiet in my head for a while. Alright. We're going to carry on trying to figure out what's been happening this morning, but while we do that, let's go over to Tristan, who's finding all the great things today.
Well, yes, I suppose these can be counted as smaller things, and this is our big warthog family that I was talking about earlier that goes to Shabamu Pans. Now, unfortunately, there's no more water there for them, and so they now have moved towards Treehouse Dam, and I can actually see where their tracks have been going up and down the last few days, and there they all come out, and you can see it's a very successful family. This mom has done a fine job in raising all of those, because that's not very easy at all. The number of predators that we have in this area, to be able to successfully raise that many piglets means that she's a sterling mother. So well done, little warthog. You've done very, very well indeed. Now, how many do we have there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I can count, little ones, and then one slightly older one that must have been from the year before. Is there 6, Ferg, or did I miss one? No, 6. I think there's 6, yeah. And you can see they're slowly moving away from us. Typical warthogs are a little bit nervous of the car, and so they were much, much closer, and they slowly but surely have kind of edged their way along. Now, Ferg, I don't know if you can get it now quickly while they're still doing it, but there's some starlings that are having a little bath, and it's beautiful with the backlight as they're flicking their feathers. So there we go. See? They're busy giving themselves a good wash, and they'll go into the water and use their wings to cover themselves in water and just to get rid of all the dust that's in the air that's sticking to their preening oil. And once they've done that, they'll then go up onto a branch and they'll start to then groom themselves and get that preening oil through the feathers again, the nice clean oil, and get the feather condition much better. They'll also have a bit of a drink when they come down, so you'll find the starlings do this from time to time. Now, are they actually starlings, or have I got this completely wrong? They look like starlings from here. Yes, they are. So the Birchall starlings, they just are a little bit obscured by the sun, and we're staring straight into it, so it's tough to be able to get an ID. But the reason why I know they're Birchall starlings is quite a long tail feather, and then also that dark eye. If it was the Cape Glossy or the Greater Blue-eared, both of those have bright yellow eyes, and so you can see it quite clearly. Even against the light, you would be able to pick up that lightness in the eye itself. But that was very cool to see. It's not often you get to see the birds coming down and bathing, and you can actually see the one that's busy grooming itself slightly up on that branch. There we go. So it shook itself off, got rid of all the excess water, and you see now it's using its beak just to try and get all that preening oil back through the feathers, dry everything out again, cover everything nicely, go through with that beak and just comb out any little parasites and dust that might still be clinging to themselves. So bath time in the bird world, And well, why not? Maybe they've got a Sunday night date. What do you think, Ferg? Little romantic movies and dinner for a starling this evening, should I say. Absolutely, why not? And I suppose if you're as splendid looking as a starling, why not ruffle the feathers and fluff out in the beautiful afternoon sunlight and show off what you've got. And you can see they do it with quite a bit of vigor. It's not a slow process, that's for sure. So they definitely try and sort of get themselves as dry as possible, as quick as possible. And the reason why they'll do that is because being a bird and being wet, water and feathers don't really mix that well. It's not ideal for birds to be covered in water. That's because when they do get covered in water, they get heavier and flying becomes a lot harder. And if there's a bird of prey around, it makes them a little bit more susceptible to being preyed upon, and so they need to try and dry themselves as quick as possible. And you can see that one as it shook, all the excess water coming off. This is so cool. And it's nice because the sun is behind, so you can actually see the droplets of water exploding off the starlings as they shake their feathers out. Very cool. Be nice if they were a little bit closer, but well, we can't be too choosy. At least we're getting a show from the starlings this afternoon. Now I see there are some elephant tracks here in front that I just want to quickly have a look at because they're going straight across in the front here. So you see there's a big game path that goes across like this, and so that's where the elephant tracks are. You can see the big discs that are in the middle of the road. And I want to just check how fresh they are because it doesn't look like anyone drove here this morning. There's lots of tracks all over the road, and I'll be able to tell quite quickly if I go to the elephant track and we can see lots of impalas and waterbuck and even these warthogs that we saw now on top of those elephant tracks, then I'll know that these are not very fresh. But I'm hoping that this is a bull elephant that came and drank during this afternoon, and from there we'll be able to try and track him down and see where he's gone. So let's just roll forward a little bit to check quickly. It's not a very big bull elephant, if it is. It seems like a much smaller guy. Let's have a look. I don't see any tracks on top of it. No, I lie. There are some tracks on top of it. The warthogs have walked on top, but we know the warthogs are here, so it's from today, though, which is good news. Right, let's see if we can't find this gentleman. I'm sure he's around here somewhere. It's just a matter of time until we find him, and we know from those tracks that he'll be heading towards the water and then onward into a westerly direction. The tracks give us a nice clear half moon at the back, and that points us which way we need to go. So I'm going to try and head that direction and see if I can find any sign of this Ellie bull on the other side here as I go around. Now we're going to try and find our elusive elephant, and it seems like Ellie has got an elusive cat of her own that she's struggling to find.
Seems like the spots have always, they've got something in for me this week. I was so lucky, and now they're making me work really hard for them. Seems like Mbula, or well, maybe not Mbula, but a male leopard, it was seen on Buffelshoek not too far from the boundary, and everything points towards the fact that it could be him. Just because of the general direction where he was walking into. So some of the guys have gone and checked, because unfortunately it's a bit too far for us to even try and have a look. So they'll keep me posted in case there is anything that we could potentially see. So don't worry, guys, I'm sure they'll let us know. But in the meantime, I'm checking now the main road to see if perhaps the Nkuhumas have come or have decided to cross at any point. And I've got a magic wand over here, so I'm hoping this is going to help, produce some tracks. I don't know, I should start maybe practicing on some spells and be like, bibbidi babbidi boo lion. That would be quite cool if I could just summon them at will. Anyway, seems like so far no tracks, nothing I can see around here, but let's not lose hope just yet. Maybe they'll be around, but while I focus on this very brown colorful ground, let's go over to Tristan, who's got one of the most colorful birds around.
We do indeed, but we've got a different species of the starlings now. So this is our Cape glossy starling. You can see the bright orange yellow eye that I was talking about earlier, that the Birchall starlings that we saw bathing didn't have. So it's a nice comparison between the two. And look at that shine on the wings. Can you see the iridescence that is appearing on those wings. And now remember, this bird is actually not that color. It doesn't have natural blue and green pigments. That's all just reflection of light through the prisms of the feathers and through that preening oil and the way it's coming back at us. So really is quite incredible how much color we get just from these guys and the reflection of light off those feathers. It's very, very cool. Now, I was saying earlier that the greater blue-eared and the Cape glossy both have the yellow eye, and so the only way to tell the difference is to look around the eye itself, and there will be a very marked difference there. Now, this bird, you can see, has got a pretty uniform head. There's no sort of difference in coloration really around that eye area. It's all pretty sort of reflective and iridescent all the way around, whereas the greater blue-eared has a little bit of a different ear. If you have a look here in the book, sorry Ferg, I'm going to make you move, but if we have a look here in the book, you'll see that this is the glossy starling that we were looking at right now. So there's that very light colored eye that we were talking about, and you can see the head is pretty uniform. There's no changes or noticeable changes in color around the eye itself. Whereas the greater blue-eared starling, which is this guy over here, you see around the eye, it's got this dark blue-black ear that comes down, and it's very noticeable, particularly when we have a starling that's sitting as close as we've got this guy, and in the sun, you will notice that blue ear very, very quickly, and it becomes quite easy to tell the difference. Now, the other starlings that we were watching that were having a little bath is this guy over here. So you can see slightly longer tail that I was referring to, and that eye is dark. So even from a distance, you can tell the difference between these guys just judging by the eye itself. And in fact, those Birchill starlings are still behind us. I can see them still kind of taking it very easy and still getting rid of all the water and plumage. And there's another beautiful bird that I can see as well, which we'll try and get to just now. So David, number 41 on your bird list. Well done, David. We shall keep adding to them as much as we can. We're going to try and do quite a few birds because it seems like it's quite quiet on the mammal front this afternoon so far. So definitely going to enjoy the birds, particularly in this beautiful sunshine that we've got. And that starling there, look at that. Look at those colors. Those metallic greens and blues and purples are just amazing. And you can see that bird is now nice and clean, washed off all the dust. Very cool. So Mark, you say you need a brew. Well, Mark, I saw a brew when I was in that Tumba sighting on Saturday morning, so yesterday morning. So I'll try and find one again for you. They're quite difficult because they bounce around quite a bit. So I'll try and find another one. There is another bird here that is very pretty that most of you should have on your lists already, but I'll show you just because the light is on it currently. And now hopefully our aerial's not going to be in the way. It is, isn't it? So our aerial is right in the way of where I want to go. Hold on, Ferg. Let me just turn you quickly. Now, of course, Rusty doesn't want to go into reverse to turn you, but there we go. Is that better, Ferg?
That's much better. Thank you.
So, of course, the aerial was going to be in the way. It wasn't going to be that easy. Things seldom are. But there's our beautiful lilac-breasted roller below our glossy starling. And in this light, when they are right here and the sun is on them, the colors on that roller are spectacular. They have that, you can see, turquoise tummy and then that lilac breast. And in comparison to the starlings, you can see it's not as much of a metallic sheen that they've got. It's more sort of a softer coloration, but still very, very pretty birds. And most of these birds will be here because of the fact that it's a warm day. They've come down not only to bath, but to get some water. And so it's quite a common thing to see multiple birds at this time of the day around a waterhole. Also, we know that there will be insects coming off the water. And so for these birds, they can use an area like that to come down and hawk those insects, particularly rollers. Rollers are heavy predators, and they will find exactly what they're looking for. I see we've got another bird species that's joined as well. So back to where the other starlings are, Ferg, you see there's a fork-tailed drongo. There we go. So Kristen, you want to know if we've got any birds here that are invasive species. Oh, well done, Ferg. There goes our drongo back up to the top. So it's just hawked down and grabbed an insect and then has gone back up to the top there. And we know it's a fork-tailed drongo with that deep fork on its tail. It's very distinctive. There's very few other birds here that are that coloration and have that. Now, Kirsten, back to your question. I'm going to try and find it in my book now, if you can give me 2 seconds, because I actually haven't looked at this bird in so long in the book because, well, it is an invasive species and not one that we take too much attention or pay too much attention. So I've actually forgotten what page it's on. So I'm trying to find it quickly in my book. Where are you? But it's called an Indian myna. That's what its name is. And actually, funny enough, I think it's somewhere close to the Starlings. So let's have a look there. But Indian mynas, as the name suggests, have come from the subcontinent and were brought here via ships and have really taken over. And they're quite nasty birds. They take over other birds' nests and they cause quite a lot of problems. And funny enough, they're really bad in Johannesburg and those areas, but they're starting to filter into the bush. And in fact, actually, I've seen them at Arathusa airstrip, which is really not good. And so most of the birds that come here that are like that are not supposed to be here, will be eradicated. We'll try and get rid of them because they do breed and they generally don't have natural predators. It's like any invasive species. They tend to take over a lot quicker than any other species and they cause a lot of problems. So Indian mynas in particular are the scourge, and there was at one time a point where you were allowed to destroy them if you saw them in your gardens in Johannesburg because of how bad they were. There we go. It's now changed to a common myna. Sorry, the new name is a common myna. It used to be called an Indian myna, but it's this one over here. And in fact, most of these that we see here are all invasive species. So this one on top, which is one that we have seen here in the Sabi sands and is not one that we want here at all. We need to get rid of these if we do see them. So on Arathusa airstrip I have seen these. Then this rose-colored starling, there has been a reported case of these guys in South Africa, which is probably an escapee out of an aviary. They don't actually naturally occur, and I think it's just one sighting of these guys. And then the common starling, or the European starling was its old name, is another one that has been brought across. So these three starlings are invasive species that we do get in South Africa, but this is the only one that we get here in the Sabi sands. Now there's a few others, but that's just an example of some of the birds that we do see. Right, well, I think that's enough birding at Treehouse Dam for now, and we've exhausted most of the birds that are here, so let's carry on. Ooh. So Ellen, you're asking a quite in-depth question because there's quite a number of them, but you want to know what birds are away from South Africa at this time of the year. Now I see our Ellie tracks are going up this way, which is good news, so we are on the Ellie tracks. But we'll carry on and see where they go. But birds that are away at this time of the year, there are birds of prey, so steppe eagles, Wahlberg's eagles, steppe buzzards that migrate. You'll also find situation of some of the Amur falcons that will have left. Then you've got cuckoos that have gone. We've got kingfishers, European rollers, so quite a multitude of birds, and generally a lot of our most colorful birds are gone at the moment. So that's a bit of a sort of depressing thing about the winter months, is while there are still some nice birds, most of our really colorful ones have unfortunately left and have gone elsewhere. Now where has our elephant gone? You can see our elephant's tracks are still going here in front, so we're going to keep following them and see where they go. This elephant could have gone quite far already. I see that there are a few Impala tracks on top, which means that this guy could have traveled the length of Djuma, but we shall keep tracking and see where we go. Maybe we'll get lucky and find him. At least he's leaving nice big beacons on the road, which will help in our quest to find this gentle giant. Well, hopefully he'll be gentle. And while we do that, let's see how Ali's quest is to find the not so gentle pride of Inkahumas.
Well, I don't think the search is going too well. We keep finding tracks, but for leopards. So no big tracks. I think there were, just want to check some tracks around here. I think we had some more tracks indeed. So it seems like the main road has been quite busy. Lots of human tracks following animal tracks, but they all go back onto Arathusa Simambili area. So nothing around here, and I don't think the guys have been too lucky trying to follow up on Mbula either. See, lots of tracks here. I see. Lots of little things have been walking around. Unfortunately, no lion tracks for the time being. It seems like maybe they haven't come out of wherever it is that they've been hiding, and I know that they've gone quite far south into just Londolozi area, so we'll see if maybe we get lucky just a bit further down the road, and if not, then I think I'd want to head back to Djuma, Buyatilla side, and see if perhaps there's anything that has crossed into this area, because it seems like it was quite an interesting morning. I see lots of vehicle tracks moving around, lots of tracks or footprints for people, potentially trackers looking for these leopards, and then the leopard tracks all going in that direction. So I want to see, who knows, maybe Shadow is around this area as well. Could very well be. I know she's full of surprises and she likes moving around quite a lot, and the tracks that we were looking at were quite small, like for a female leopard. So, I got excited there. I thought I saw a lion track, but it was not. Interesting. I think maybe they are all testing my eyes. See if I'm right or I'm wrong. It seems like Tristan's tracking has been a bit luckier, although he is looking for one of the biggest things. But let's go over to Victoria's tracker Tristan.
Well, Victoria's tracker, I'm not quite sure. I think more like lucky kind of bump into an elephant that was just standing next to the road. So very little tracking went into this. But, well, I suppose it is the tracks that we found at Trias Dam, and he hadn't walked too far, not as far as I thought, and seems as though he's just enjoying himself, having a really good feed here north of the dam. So he's found himself some bush willows, and, well, he's a happy elephant, and you can see he's now going to carry on his stroll slowly northwards, and I'm hoping he's going to keep moving just through this thicket. Then I can get around him and we'll get some beautiful light on him, because at the moment we're kind of staring directly into the sun as he's moving away. Now this is a young elephant bull. You can see there's where the sun is, and it's quite harsh in the eyes, but hopefully he'll just break through this thicket and we'll get a really nice view from the other side. But look at all the dust coming up as he's feeding. It just goes to show you how dry it is at the moment, and it's getting to those times where the grass is going to be so devoid of nutrients that these guys are going to start focusing pretty much on the roots of the grass, not actually the tops of the grass. And you'll find a lot of the time they're going to put it in and they're going to turn it, they hit it against their chest, and then they shove the roots in, chomp those roots down, and then drop the grass stalks on the ground. Now, Ferg, let's try to get ahead of him so we can get some decent light. Now, I'm quite glad Ellie is checking around Triple M, because I heard that they lost the tracks for the Nkahuma Pride around the fire break on Simbambili close to One-Eyed Pan, and while we know One-Eyed Pan is actually not too far from Triple M itself, so it might be worth Ellie really having a good look around Impala Plains area and that area, and she might just get lucky. Wouldn't it be amazing if the Nkahuma Pride was back this side? It would be really good. I don't think anyone's actually followed up in that area exceptionally well, so it might be good to go and have a good look around there. Now I'm just trying to get around our Ellie bull at the moment. He's slowly walking towards the road, so instead of crashing through the trees and bushes, I'm going to get towards the road myself, and then I'm going to park on the road and wait for him to slowly come towards us. And this light will be a lot better from this angle, I think, Ferg. I think we're going to win a lot more, although it is a lot more bushy than I thought it would be here as well. I thought he was going to come through a gap just to my left that was a lot better than where he's actually gone at the moment. Now he's, hopefully he comes through this gap. Ferg, you're an elephant whisperer. You need to tell him to turn more towards us and come closer. But you can see, obviously, he had a really good swim at Trias Dam. His skin is very dark in places, and it almost looks as though it's still damp. And you see there, it all looks quite dark, and he's thrown dirt on his back, which will have stuck to that moisture and create a bit of a layer, as well as be quite abrasive and get rid of those skin cells that are dead and keep his skin in good condition. But he must have had a really good swim, so I'm a little bit bummed that we didn't find him a little earlier, or delay him, a little bit later, and find him swimming. It would have been so cool to see them swimming. I love when elephants swim and they go under and you find their trunk just peering out on the top of the surface. It always looks like they're having such fun when they're in a water hole. So a bit bummed that we missed that, but well, good to see him nonetheless. Like I say, I wanted to find elephants this afternoon, and there we go. There's a nice young bull for us, and so we're going to spend quite a bit of time with him, because I haven't had too many elephants over the last few weeks, and I always love spending time around them. They're such intelligent animals. Our Beard. Hello, Our Beard. How are you? I hope you're well. Now, Our Beard came and visited us not so long ago, so I hope that you're having a wonderful time back home and glad that you got back safely. And thank you again for your very kind gift that you left for all the staff. It was kind of you to do so. But Our Beard, you're wondering if those are little bugs that are flying around close to the elephant or behind the elephant. You would have seen them a lot better when we had that backlight on him. And yes, they are. There's lots of little insects that will often follow elephants around. And the reason why is a lot of those will be trying to actually sequester the moisture off of this elephant's skin. So they're going to be knowing that this elephant is now damp from being on water, and so they're going to come and actually land on the elephant, because the elephant itself is going to keep them safe to some regards. You're going to find no birds are landing on elephants and feeding off them like the oxpeckers do with other animals out here. And so it's a safe place if you're an insect to go and land and try and get a bit of moisture without having to worry about certain predators. And as I talk about that, on the top of the tree is a beautiful lilac-breasted roller that's following this particular elephant at the moment. Now, Paddlesworth, you say the drongo we saw earlier would love to those bugs and follow the elephant. Well, you can see our roller. I'm sure this is the same roller that we saw just now, is actually following this elephant itself and is also making use of that. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find a fork-tailed drongo lurking somewhere around here, because as you say, they love to use these bigger animals to be able to find the food and, well, to disturb the food out of the grass that they can then hawk down and grab it. Now, interestingly enough, you can see on this elephant that there's this white secretion around the eyes, and it's something that we see a lot on elephants, particularly when it's bright conditions like today. And a number of you have asked us about it, and as guides we've discussed it, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. I've tried to read up about it, and I haven't really gotten too far at this stage. To be honest, I haven't put as much effort as I probably should have into it, but it seems as though, and my theory behind this is that, like I say, it seems to happen when it's very bright. And I think it's much like us. When we look at the sun on a bright day, our eyes start to water and to secrete. And I think it's the same thing with these elephants. I think they start to secrete after staring into the sun too much, and that secretion then comes out. And with the eyelids blinking so much because of dusting and because of trees and things, it causes it to froth a little bit, and that's why it looks like a milky froth that's actually coming out of their eyes. I could be completely wrong, but it's just a theory that I have, and I would love to know if anybody does know exactly what that is. You can hashtag Safari Live, and I'll love to hear if you know all about that. But that's what I think it is. And it's much like what we have, like I say, when we look at the sun. It is amazing to watch this Ellie, though. He is absolutely obliterating a tree that would harm all of us very badly if we tried to eat it or tried to grab it, and he's just making short work of all of it and wrapping his trunk around and really grabbing big trunkfuls with no threat of those thorns whatsoever. Now, we're going to stay with our Ellie, like I said, because I really, really love spending time with these guys, and he seems to be an absolute gentleman. And so while we do that, let's go across to Ellie, who seems as though she's not having nearly as much luck when it comes to the cats this afternoon.
Tristan, I think we're going to have a word and perhaps a couch when we get back from drive this evening. It's easier when you're tracking the biggest one of them all, isn't it? No, we are not giving up. We are checking on Impala planes. We were checking before Tristan mentioned it, just for the record. Not that we're competitive or proud or anything.
I confirm. Yeah, I confirm.
Yeah, exactly. Seb can vouch for me, and he knows that that's what's been happening. So we just want to check the bottom side again, just the southern, some of the roads outside from the main road, because it's a road that gets driven quite a bit, so even if there was anything that crossed, very likely those trash would have been squashed already. So we're gonna have another look around, see if perhaps there is anything. I just want to see here. Alright, I think this is an update about areas in Buffelshoek that are not really too much of our concern. So hopefully we'll see something around here. It's been a bit of a quiet morning, which is sometimes a good indication that there's been something around here. Or not morning, afternoon, what am I saying? But we shall see. Ooh. We shall see. I have hope that the road is going to point us in the right direction for all the tracks. We did give the animals a bit of a head start yesterday afternoon and today. And if you were all wondering, I'm not sure if Tristan mentioned it, we did go yesterday afternoon to try and look for Tambo again, see if perhaps we could see what he would get up to in case the gremlins were fought off, but we couldn't find him again. So thankfully this time it wasn't just me, he was also hiding from Tristan. But we think that what happened was that actually Thandi came back to fetch him and she took him somewhere else. So I think now that she's starting to push further into Djuma, she might start taking it, exploring new areas, because I've got no doubt that this is an area that she knows quite well, and perhaps that she's a little bit interested in trying to show her cub potential new areas. And I'm sure, well, if there's a bit of a void of female leopards around here, it's good for her, because then she'll have a bit more of a picking on areas. Alright, no tracks here. Let's carry on and see. And that road we've already checked, because that's exactly where we came from. Kathy, you're wondering if we've noticed any female leopard scent marking on Karula's territory. I haven't noticed them. I haven't seen any female scent mark for the few weeks that I've been here. However, I think it's a good indication that some females are looking into making this area their own, especially her two daughters, Shadow and Thandi, because they've been pushing further and further in. They used to just be a bit more on the fringes of this area, and now, well, Thandi's gone pretty much all the way to the Molowati, which I believe is one of, or used to be one of Karula's favorite spots. And Thandi's been pushing a bit more into the northern side of Djuma. So I think maybe they are testing, seeing if there are any other potential competitors around here, because both of them have got young cubs and they've got to look after before they go fully onto claiming this new territory or part of this territory for themselves. No. What are these tracks? This is a very small cat track. These are more leopard tracks. Let me just see. Now I've got tracks for leopards going that way and going that way. One-eyed pand. Okay, so we've just received an update that apparently the Ankahumas have crossed around from One-Eyed Pan, so it's pretty much the area we've done. So I think maybe we're gonna scratch around a bit more around this area. If they are here, we will find them. But while I figure this out, let's go over to Tristan and see how that big beautiful elephant is doing.
Well, we are having a glorious afternoon in the sunshine. Our Ellie looks as though he's thoroughly happy. He's been feeding away at grasses and trees and small little shrubs, and, well, we've been thoroughly enjoying his company too. We've got this big bull elephant, beautiful late afternoon light. It's warm, it's pleasant, there's not a breath of wind, and, well, wouldn't you want... Well, there's no better way really to spend a Sunday afternoon. What do you think, Ferg?
I'm very happy.
Very happy as well. And both of us this afternoon when we left, we thought it would be nice just to have a really good afternoon with some elephant, and so he is being very obliging. And you can see that deep winter sky in the background is beautiful backdrop for such a magnificent creature. And like I say, he is so relaxed. He's not given us one iota of attitude or any sort of showing that he's acknowledged us even. He's just quite happy to see us sitting here and has not given any problems whatsoever. So you can see, look at the size of his head. He's got a really large head. Now, funny enough, a bit of a wind just came up now over our shoulders, and so you see how he stopped feeding quickly, because I'm pretty sure our scent blew towards him and he picked up, wait, hang on, there's a scent of people here as well, and he just stopped just to take a trunk full of air. He then saw us. There we go, you can see, look, he's just smelling us now. The little breeze that just came over our shoulder is causing him just to smell a little bit. Now, what else have you smelt, big boy? This is so amazing. He must be now, I would say, he's no less than 3 meters from the edge of the car, and he's just having a smell and having a little look. Wow. And there's a little butterfly that just went past his eye. So to see one massive animal and then this tiny little butterfly coming past is quite something. Now, Ferg, can you just punch in above his tusk on his trunk there? You'll see it go to the right a little bit. There's actually a wound there. I don't know if you can see it between the tusk and the eye that's busy healing up, and he's got a bit of a wound there. So I think he's had a little run-in with another elephant, and if we come further down the trunk, you'll actually see, there we go, there's actually an open wound that hasn't healed as much. So there we go, and that's into where that wound is. That's really cool. And this would have been from another male's tusks when they were jostling with one another. This does happen. A sharper tusk just catches that trunk a bit and causes a little flesh wound. Now, that won't really harm this elephant. That's nothing for him. But it is quite cool to see. We're never generally this close. And look at all the clothes. He wants to do his own thing and watch the sport and sit on the couch, and so that's why he lives by himself, and then only when he has to try and find a female does he come into this area. Hello, big boy. This is unbelievable. What a gentleman. Wow. You can only be in awe when you are that close to an elephant bull, and I think this is a good time for a one-word tweet. So hashtag Safari Live, what you would have felt had you had an elephant no less than, I would say, 4 feet from the edge of the vehicle feeding on a tree. He was literally right here, almost in touching distance of where Ferg was. So one-word tweet, hashtag Safari Live. For me, it is just, you become absolutely speechless. It is an experience that I cannot describe to you. It's absolute awe when there's this massive individual towering over you, looking at you with this bright amber eye and just sort of patiently feeding. It is quite something. So that is as special as it gets for me. And Ferg, do you enjoy that?
I really enjoyed that.
There we go.
Humbling
is probably a good way to do it. So very, very nice. And there is, like I say, a feeling of feeling quite insignificant when there's an animal of that size sort of perched up right next to you. You almost feel as though you realize just how big these guys really are. You know, when we see them from a distance, even from this distance here, you think, well, this is not the most sort of massive animal out here, and there are bigger bull elephants, but when he gets up that close and you realize that this car would fit underneath his chin, you realize just how big these guys really are. And it is really humbling, as well as just sort of, I don't know, it's intimidating in a way. You kind of feel this presence of this massive animal over you, and it's quite something. And certainly very thankful to be able to spend time amongst these guys. As much as I love leopards, and well, leopards are pretty much my favorite thing to go and see any day of the week, spending time amongst these big, gentle giants is amazing. So Pamela, you say honored. Well, I would say that's a really good word to use. It is an honor to be amongst, well, be next to a big elephant like this. You know, these animals have had so much to endure in their lives. They've, you know, it's not easy being an elephant. You've got to travel big distances. Food is always something that you've got to find, as well as the fact that the threat from people is huge, and so their numbers have declined massively over the African continent. And so to be able to sit with them in the wild and just be right near an elephant that's trusting you that much and allowing you to be that close is a very, very special experience. So honored is probably a very good way to put it. So thank you for that. David, you with Ferg, you reckon humbling. Well, I agree, David. I think you and Ferg have been spot on. Now, he's not being very humbling now because he's busy spraying urine all over the show and has definitely decided to show that he is a boy at this stage. So there we go. Unfortunately, he's letting it all now hang out. So not as pretty a picture as what it was a few minutes ago, that's for sure. But you can see every now and then he just stops and listens to us. And if the wind blows slightly, then that straight away he kind of turns and trunk aimed at us and just kind of scenting us, checking what we're all about, making sure that we're not up to no good. It's quite interesting just to watch his behavior. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching every now and then when that wind does blow, and because it's been so still, I think he's kind of forgets that we're here, and then as soon as that wind picks up, he realizes, hang on a second, there's more than just a car here, and I need to just check this out and make sure that it's not something I have to worry about. Look at all the insects as well following him. You can see why the drongos and the rollers love to be around them. You can see there all those little winged insects flying around, and some of those would have come from that trunk wound. Others are just following him around, like we said, to land on the skin and sequester the moisture that is on him at the moment. And so it's different insects that are there, and perfect hunting grounds for many a bird. And that's why you often find them following big elephant bulls. In fact, there's been documentaries done on even bee eaters that follow these Ellies around, particularly in grassland areas, that they can just come along and grab all the insects that this guy disturbs. Wow. So special. We are very fortunate, Ferg. Let's try and see if we can't just get one last sort of look at him, because he's been so obliging that I don't really want to push my luck too much. So I just want to try and see if I can't just get around without crashing around here too much. And if I can do that, then we'll get one last sort of view and then leave him to his own devices and let him wander back into the thickets and to enjoy the rest of his afternoon, really. So, Andrew, you're wondering if elephant bulls are territorial. Well, Andrew, no, they're not territorial. They have home ranges, so they have an area that they move around in, but because of the way their system works, and it's a matriarchal system, the females run what goes on, an elephant bull doesn't need a territory. As long as he's got access to food and water, and being a animal that can find food pretty much everywhere, because they're able to dig, they're able to feed off grass, leaves, all kinds of different food sources, they generally don't need to be territorial. They're not really competing that much for food items. As long as there's a source of water and food, they're actually quite calm with one another. And you'll see that males often form groups together, and we'll get these almost bachelor groupings. Even big old males will often have younger bulls accompanying them. He's just coming out into the open again, but I